Oh, it was great catching up with the next guest, Tristan Connelly, who is live on location in Victoria, enjoying some beautiful weather here today. Tristan, how's it going?
It's going really good.
That's good to hear. Of course, you're in Victoria, right? You're closing in on a townhouse, you were telling me.
Yeah, me and my wife, we bought a new townhouse. It's not quite finished, so we came over to the island, stayed with my parents, and I'm enjoying some downtime and training over here with a bunch of old friends that this is where I started my training. So there's multiple gyms here where a bunch of my friends have opened their own gyms since I started training. And so I'm just making the rounds and seeing them all. And it's good to see familiar faces and get some new training partners that I haven't trained with in a long time.
That's cool. Get some different looks.
Yeah.
When are you looking to actually move into the house? How long do you figure you'll be in Victoria?
Sometime between mid-July probably to early August. It's supposed to be done in August, but they're way ahead of schedule. So mid-July is kind of what they're telling us right now. So just saw last week was moving our entire life into a storage locker. So that was horrible.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, I've had to move too.
Moving sucks, but it sucks even more when you got to fit it into a 10 by 10 cube. But that's done, and now me, Jen, and Sydney are all here at my parents. My parents are super excited to have the baby here and hang out with them and just relaxing and enjoying it.
Your last fight, I know, did not go as according to plan at featherweight against Pat Sabatini. What did you learn the most from that fight that you're sort of taking away and bringing into your next one?
I just there was a lot of I don't want to say jitter. I wasn't nervous at all. It was the exact opposite of that. I was so calm. I was so relaxed going in, and I felt like I never, it took me a while to get going. I don't want to take away from Pat because he did a great job. He was so solid on top. I never like to say, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that in the fight, because I didn't. And the fact of the matter, he did what he needed to do. And even if I had done things differently, then maybe he would have adjusted his game. But what I have to take away is, at the end of the fight, I wasn't tired. I saved way too much. I was worried about overextending myself in those first two rounds. And I technically tried to escape against a very technical grappler. And it burned the clock. I didn't take any damage, but he was smooth and tight on top. And he knew he did what he had to do to maintain that position. And I needed to be more active in creating more scrambles. You can't just accept those positions the way I was. It's a bad habit I have from so much jiu-jitsu. Paul Felder said it in, I think one of the last two cards, someone's getting taken down, and he's like, you have to already be getting up when you get taken down. And it's something I've been working on. But I obviously need to work on it a lot more. And it's flipping that switch from round one. I gotta remember to go when it's time to go. The being relaxed, being calm, that was all great. Great in the warm up, great in the back. But I just need to know when to flip that switch. So I really have to take that away from the fight and remember next time that when it's time to go, it's time to go.
Okay. Well, I like the assessment. Do you see yourself competing at featherweight again next? Because obviously you made your debut at welterweight. I know lightweight is sort of your ideal weight class. When are you looking at, what weight class do you think you'll be fighting in next?
Yeah, I mean, people say, I've said, you think you look better, at lightweight and, weight cut. Nothing to do with weight cut. My weight cut went fantastic.
Okay.
I'm not saying it wasn't hard. It was very hard. But I did it very intelligently, leaning on the UFC PI and Charles Stahl. We were working hand in hand, and I made that weight, and I went back up to, I was 175 pounds on fight night.
Wow.
And I felt great. This is also the first time I've ever cut weight in the last, other than the Pereira fight where I didn't really have to cut much, but every other fight I've always been able to IV rehydrate. And this was a bigger cut without a IV rehydration. And 4 hours after the cut, I felt great. Going into ceremonial weigh-ins, I was already 173 pounds.
Wow.
So, my energy was great. I was hitting pads that night. I felt great. And like I say, at the end of the fight, I was barely even breathing heavy. So, it was nothing to do with the weight cut. The weight cut went fantastic. So I proved that I can do that. I'm in the UFC and I have these resources available to me. I'm gonna at least one more. I'm not gonna say I'm gonna stay at featherweight forever, but I definitely liked how the cut went. I liked how how I felt. Other than that, so the next one will be at featherweight as well, and we're going to take it fight by fight. I'm doing my I being in quarantine, I blew up a little bit, but the last few weeks I brought the weight back down. Definitely got a little more fat on me than I did at the fight night, but I feel like I can stay at a weight where, provided I have at least a month's notice before a fight, I will be able to make 45 again.
Okay, there you go. We'll talk about what's next for you in a second, but got to talk about this weekend's card. Maybe not the strongest UFC card out there, but a couple interesting fights we're going to talk about here. We've got a fight in the welterweight division. Miguel Beza, who's undefeated right now at MMA Masters. He's going to be taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio out of American Top Team. Right now in FanDuel, Miguel Beza minus 128, Ponzinibbio plus 104. A little bit surprising in the sense that Ponzinibbio has a win over Neil Magny, but of course he's lost his last fight, got knocked out by Jingling Li. Beza beat Matt Brown in his last fight, so kind of a tale of two opposite directions. Who do you like in this fight? Who do you think gets it done?
Yeah, I mean, one guy we've seen a lot more of. One guy's undefeated. I always lean on experience, it's hard to say with a guy that's undefeated. I'm going to lean with Ponzinibbio. I think he's the guy he's the guy he's had more experience. Coming off that knockout, he's going to be hungry. But again, it's always hard with those undefeated guys. You never know. Matt Brown he's been hot and cold, so it's hard to know. The win over him is really going to be the deciding factor, and that's going to be my vote. Yeah,
I can see it as well. This is a 50-50 fight to me. I mean, the odds are close anyways, but Ponzinibbio's fought the better opposition. He's 34. You do wonder if, maybe his best days are behind him. It's a great opportunity to prove his critics wrong, because nothing against Beza, undefeated record, but not the resume that a Ponzinibbio has. So we'll be very, very interested in that. Okay, co-main event, kind of an interesting one here. Marcin Tybura taking on Walt Harris. Marcin Tybura, the favorite at minus 172, Walt Harris plus 140. Interesting case, kind of like our last fight. Two guys going in opposite directions. Tybura on a nice win streak hasn't fought the competition that Walt Harris has. Walt Harris has 2 losses, but those losses are to Volkov, who's now main eventing in a few weeks against Cyril Gahn, and Alistair Overeem, who should really still be in the UFC. He's only got 1 loss, and he was cut, so that was more of a financial thing. But who do you like in that one, Tybura or Walt Harris?
Well, I'm a fan of Harris. I'm in my heart, I'm rooting for him. So again, that's a pick'em fight, 50-50. But because I'm a believer in Harris, and he's had a very tough last couple of years. I'm rooting for him, and I know I talked to him last year at the PI. He's super motivated, super hungry, and like I say, the competition that he's lost to. That's hard to judge by. So I'm gonna lean on my guy Harris for this one.
And then the main event is heavyweight fight. Jairzinho Rozenstruik minus 122 taking on Augusto Sakai. The comeback plus 100. You remember Sakai? He actually knocked out Tybura in Vancouver on your card. I don't know if you remember that. It was a quick finish. And Rozenstruik, of course, coming off that loss to Cyril Gahn, losing a decision in that one. So who do you like in this fight?
I'm gonna go with Rozenstruik. He's obviously got real heavy hands, and again, the level of competition that he's fought, I believe, is just higher. That experience, I think, is going to be what makes the difference.
You mentioned, obviously, moving into the place in August. Does that sort of affect your next fight as well? Or are you looking more towards the fall once that's all settled in? Because I'm sure you want to do a camp out in Vegas again, or what's sort of the plan going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've told them sort of September is when I'd like to fight. Mm-hmm. Hopefully we're into the place before August, and then we can get everything moved in. Like, I can train here, I can stay in shape. I only need, a month to go down and really hit the end of my camp. With all using the resources, the PI, and really focusing there. So I don't want to take a big layoff. If it wasn't for the moving, I'd be asking to fight even sooner. But unfortunately, with the quarantines and everything, the way moving to the house works, they give us 14 days notice of when it's done. Well, if I'm in the States and I got to come home in quarantine, I can't sign all the paperwork because that has to be done in front of a notary. So I'm kind of stuck here until we get that call.
Gotcha.
After that, I guess I would like to fight 3 more times this year if I could. So hopefully get one in September, and then at least one more before the end of the year. And then next year we can hit the ground running. And I love saying yes to short notice fights. So once we get there, I just want to ride this last 5 years of my career out and fight as many times as I can.
Love it. Well, that's great, man. We're looking forward to it. Hopefully, whenever that is. Tristan, really appreciate the time, man. Anyone you want to thank? Any sponsors? Any social media? I'll give you the last word.
Oh, there's so many people that have helped me out. I don't want to forget anyone.
But plug the social media, because I'm sure you're plugging them on there, right?
My social media, MMA Tristan. I give them all lots of support on there. MMA Tristan on Instagram and Twitter. Tristan Connelly on Facebook, but Instagram's really obviously where most of my love is given. So please follow me on Instagram, and also when my sponsor posts come up, like them, comment on them. Let them know that people are aware that they're helping me out, because in this game that support goes a long, long way. And then I've got to always thank my wife Jen for putting up with me, and she's taking care of the baby while I'm away. She's doing all the hard work, and James, I always thank you for giving me the spotlight and giving me the time.